So it is a rainy Tuesday today, and I am on my way to my 5th yellow jacket nest removal appointment. It's rainy. Hey, Hornet Kings are rain or shine. Sometimes rain and shine. Rainbows. So this client has a yellow jacket nest in a crawl space. So it's fortuitous. You know what that means. Fruit. So that means that it works out because it's raining. And I prefer not to get wet. I have a... Whoop. Oh my gosh. No one told me that I didn't have my seatbelt on. Unbelievable. Not sure what I pay you guys for. So it kind of works out because it's starting to rain. I have a vacuum that I plug it into the wall. And it's a simple equation. Electric vacuum plugged into a 120 volt outlet plus rain equals shocking experience. Hopefully not. So this is in a crawl space. It's underneath the house. It's actually under a deck, and the deck has a closed-in porch on the top. So there's a roof up there, so I don't have to worry about any rain whatsoever. So this actually works out really well. So I'm off to Westchester, Pennsylvania to do this yellow jacket nest removal. I'm pretty sure they're German. Most times when clients contact me, I have them send me a picture of what they're seeing. These folks were getting yellow jackets inside their house too. So I just told them, snap me a picture so I can see what species I'm dealing with. It was German. Yes. I don't have to worry about too much aggression with this species, as you guys know. So, oh boy, here we are with the 4-way stops. Hey, I'm going. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell everybody right now. Everybody, if you have 4 people come to a 4-way stop and nobody is paying attention to which turn is which, I'm going. Don't wave me on. I'm going anyway. I will not look at you. I'm just saying. Oh my God, pet peeve. I think I've talked about this before. So when I do all these appointments in one day, I have lots of yellow jackets nests inside of my bin in the back. You can't see it because it's back there and we're up here. And there's a lot of them. So by the end of the day, I have a ton of nests. Now, if I get home after dark, then all those nests have to stay in the bin until the following day when I can feed them to the animals. So I'm going to be finishing up with this appointment, and then I'm heading from Westchester over to Downingtown, PA, and then Exton, I think, or vice versa. See you in a few. Oh yeah, look at that thing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool. Okay, well, we'll get them out of there.
I'll get set up.
Alright, so we got Germans going into this flooring joist bay, and they are all over the screen, and the nest is actually up inside of there. So let's set the vacuum nozzle here and vacuum them up, and then I'm going in through this crawl space and getting over there. So let's get them out. Look at that monstrosity. Ugh. Oh, this nest is just crazy big. So cool. You almost hate to see it go away. Oh, that's me. That is amazing. Okay, let's get started. Oh, you can see they've been chewing out the foam insulation of this ceiling bit. They've been chewing that away and dropping it, so that's all styrofoam.
So here we have German yellow jackets, Vespula germanica-anthic, and this particular queen had decided to build this nest above the blue insulation board. So what looks like it's hanging from the underside of it is actually going all the way through it. And you'll see that later on here as I start removing the comb. And what's so cool about that is that when this queen started this, there's a cavity above this insulation board that she started building her nest. And as the colony started developing and the nest started progressing, they started chewing through that insulation board and eventually poked all the way through it and continued to build the nest. So when I initially looked under here with the client, it didn't look super big to me. I mean, it's definitely large, but it didn't look like one of the bigger ones I've ever done. But then as removing it, I realized that the nest actually went through and into the upper cavity. So that's super interesting. That's one of the cool things about what I do, is that when I show up to do a nest removal, not every nest is exactly the same, and in a lot of cases there's a lot of uniqueness to each colony. So it's like this one. It's so cool to be able to come in here and see how they decided to build this nest and how they've kind of manipulated their surroundings to make this nest bigger and kind of make it work within that cavity. So as with all my removals, I just do a lot of damage control in the very beginning, so I'm not disturbing too much of this nest, because from outside is where they're entering from. I have another vacuum nozzle out there at the entranceway, and that's catching a lot of the ones coming back from foraging. So the chaos doesn't really ensue inside this cavity too much while I'm down in this crawl space. So, and that's by design. When I'm in a tight space like this, the last thing I really want to do is stir everything up all at once and have them flying all over me and latching on and things. Even though Germans aren't really super aggressive, doesn't mean I want thousands of yellow jackets coming out of a nest all at one time and landing on me and attacking and stinging. So I'm kind of doing this methodically, breaking a little hole into the envelope, and then exposing some of the comb, and then removing a bunch of the workers as I'm going, and not vibrating the nest too much. So that's kind of a part of my process. Eventually, here I start pulling down the envelope and exposing the rest of the comb, and you just see all of them just standing on the comb. That's exactly what I want. I'm trying to do this delicately. I don't want to disturb them all at one time and have them go nutty on me. So I pull this envelope down, and then I'll start vacuuming that up. But I wanted to show you guys the second angle that I had here, and just showing the whole part of me pulling this envelope down and exposing that comb. Now, if you were to pause this and count every single one of those cells that's up there, every single one of those little holes, that'll give you a rough idea as to how many individual yellow jackets are in this colony. So when I do my guesstimations and I say, oh yeah, there's probably about 5,000 to 10,000 yellow jackets in a colony, that's based off of all of those holes and what part of the season it's in. If it was later in the season, we know that the queen may have laid a second round of eggs in the same cells that have already hatched out adults. So that's kind of how I get my idea for numbers and things when it comes to trying to guesstimate the size of the colony. So now, if these were southern yellow jackets or eastern yellow jackets, they would not just be sitting on the comb like this. Even without doing a lot of vibration on the nest, they would instantly be out by the change in visual in that nest. They'd be out and latched on me instantly, which there's always a greater potential for stings when you get ones that are latchers like eastern and southern, because they'll latch on and they'll stay latched on for the duration of the removal in one spot and continuing to try to sting. Now, if I accidentally push them against my skin, I'm going to get stung. Even though I'm wearing a suit, I'm wearing gloves, I'm wearing boots, it doesn't matter. It's a ventilated suit. It's not sting proof. It's sting resistant. It's trying to keep there's enough layers in the fabric to keep that stinger away from my skin. But if I accidentally pinch them against me, that stinger's going to make it through. So with German, there's less of a chance of that because they're not latching onto me as much as, say, Eastern or German Eastern or Southern or Vespula, Vidua, etc. So it looks like it's pretty laid back here, and really it is. In a lot of cases, people will comment that and say, oh, these ones look so chill or whatever. Sometimes that's the camera angles. That's what I'm not showing in the full scene. I'm not showing myself, so you're not seeing them latched all over me. But in this case, they look docile because they are docile. These ladies were not coming out and going nutty on me, which is great. It was a nice relaxed removal compared to the one that I did before, which was European Hornets, and they were kind of going nutty and spraying venom all over my face and stuff, which was obnoxious. So, as usual, I'm taking my time here. It does take a little bit longer to extract the nest as opposed to somebody like Orkin or something that comes out and just tries to spray the entranceway and then they leave and they're here for 5 minutes. I get that a lot in my comments. I'll get a lot of technicians that will comment that. It's like, I get it. You know, you guys come out, you're not really specializing in wasps, so you come out with whatever chemicals you have and you spray the entranceway, cross your fingers, hope you got it. Clients hire me since I specialize in wasp species. I consider myself an expert in the species that I deal with. I'm coming out to remove the colony. I'm doing an extraction, not a spray and leave. So I allot a certain amount of time per nest, per removal. So I have the time to take my time here and do a thorough job and get as many out of this cavity and out of this space as I can. When I leave, there's going to be a couple floating around. There's going to be some that make it back into this crawl space, and that's fine because they're going to die. They're going to die without the colony and without the nest. So it doesn't have much to do with the queen. It has to do with the entire colony this late in the season. So continuing to vacuum up and separating comb layer by comb layer. So I took off the bottom layer, depending on how you look at it. Took off the bottom layer of comb there and exposes all these ones that are hunkered down between the layers. Now, some of these ladies are nursery workers. Some of them just recently hatched, so they're not really flying to attack because that's not really their job. They will if they're provoked, and if there's a lot of vibration, they'll come out and be like, hey, who's this guy making all this ruckus? But if I'm very gentle about it, they pretty much just stay put where they are, and then I just slowly and methodically vacuum them off. And then eventually I set this comb off to the side, and that way it's away from where all the activity is, because I don't want them to keep refinding the comb that I just pulled down and cleaned off, and then keep having them re-inhabit in between the layers here. So there I did make a little bit of mistake. I made a little bit of vibration. You can see they went a little bit nutty, but again, it's not nearly as bad as if that were southern yellow jackets or eastern yellow jackets. Germans pretty much, they react, but they're not coming out in like a big fury, and you can just tell, like when I say aggression or I say swarming, it's usually related to how intense they are when they come out. Germans just aren't as intense. They kind of do more floating and dive bombing like bald-faced hornets. Another nice thing about being inside of a cavity like this, inside of a crawl space, is that if they're not using the original entranceway to get outside and they come into this space, they're attracted to the vents that are there, but they're screened in so they can't get outside. And that's good because they're trapped inside the space with me so I can vacuum them up. If they were able to get outside, then they would just continue to do like a feedback loop. They go out the screen area, and then they'd fly right back into the entranceway and come back through the nest and then fly out again. They just keep doing that. So that's the nice thing about being trapped in the space. And that's a question I often get in the comments, is like, well, if I'm inside someone's bedroom or something, why don't I just open the windows and let them fly out? It's like, well, they fly out, they're flying right back into the cavity. So I'd rather just trap them in the room, and then I can just get them at the very end of the removal, and just, while I'm vacuuming up everybody out of the space. Because that's the same thing here. I mean, when pretty much they're going to be crawling around a little bit on the walls and stuff. For the most part, they're staying right around that vent and waiting for me to just vacuum them up. Even though I've been vacuuming that one spot for quite a while, even though now I just pull down that comb layer, there's probably about 30 of them. They're up on the original nest underneath that last layer of comb. So it's taking my time and vacuum them up, because again, the longer that I take here, that's the more time that the returning foragers have to come back from foraging. Remember, unbeknownst to them, they have no clue that this is happening to the nest. So they're out moseying around, going to flowers, getting nectar, or they're going and catching bugs to bring them back, or they're getting pulp to build more nests. And this is happening, and the whole colony is being removed. So as they come back and they just get sucked up into the other vacuum, that's damage control that I'm doing at both times. So I'm basically hitting two birds with one stone. Having two vacuums set up, one on the outside at the entranceway, and then the other one in doing this as I'm removing the nest. So I'm able to kind of get both of them at the same time. As opposed to if I'm doing a ground nest and I'm digging a hole and I'm obviously out in the open, they're coming down, ones are coming back from foraging are going down the entranceway, so I'll have a vacuum sit there sometimes. But for the most part, I'm just getting everybody at the same time with one vacuum. And that gets to be a bit tedious because, you know, once they come back, they see me, they start swarming. Well, these ladies come back from foraging. They have no idea I'm even in there. So, so they just go right for the original entranceway. If they get sucked up, they get sucked up. If they don't, they make it past the nozzle. They come into this space, and then they're trapped in the space with me. So their lucky day. But this is where you really start to see that the comb actually goes up inside of that styrofoam, which is just so cool because this is kind of reverse compared to what usually happens. Usually it's if they hit a board like this when they've already established the nest above, they'll cut it the other way. So it'll be concave from the top. As opposed to this, they basically bored a hole about the size of a golf ball to a baseball. And then as they made it their way through the styrofoam, they started excavating it out from the middle to the outside on the bottom, and it goes narrow to wide as opposed to wide to narrow. So it's really interesting to see how they decided to build this nest pretty much in the middle of this styrofoam board. And considering there's actually not much board to work with, these boards are usually like, what, like 3 inches, 2.5 inches wide. So there's really not a tremendous amount of space to even work with within that board, but they found a way to do it. And you can see on the ledge there, on the block, you can see all of the styrofoam dust and stuff that they had pulled out. So as they chew away the styrofoam, they kind of ball it up, and then they just lay it on the top of the wall, and just as a fine powder. Not necessarily laying it, but we're dropping it. So people often ask, too, in the comments, is that if this is tedious to me, like doing this type of removal. The actual removal part isn't tedious because it's interesting, and plus I'm pretty much on my toes because I don't want to get stung or I don't want to make a mistake or whatever. So it's not tedious as far as that's concerned. The tedious part for me is actually the cleanup at the end. Is just going around and catching the individuals that ended up landing on the nest after I pulled it out. And I got to get them out from between the layers, and then I got to bag up the nest, and then making sure I grab all my tools. Like, that kind of stuff's tedious. But the actual removal part, like pulling the nest out of inside of a cavity and things, that part's really interesting to me. And I think a little bit of, not necessarily fear, but just awareness that I could get attacked and stuff. It really does kind of keep you sharp and keep you on your toes. And I don't feel like I make very many mistakes because of that, because I am on pretty much right on the idea that, oh, this could happen if I did this, or this could happen if I forget that. So definitely helps me keep on top of my game. So I found a little paddle tool here to try to separate the comb layers, because there's so many structures up towards the tops of these comb that it makes it really difficult to separate it. But again, you're getting a really interesting glimpse into this styrofoam and how they chewed it away. They chewed away all of that material bit by bit, little tiny like pencil tip sizes at a time. They pull a little bit out, and then they just continue to chew it away and excavate it until they get a nice cavity up there. And I know I'm going to get asked. I have not found the queen yet. I've watched this through a couple times now, and I haven't seen the queen as I'm doing this removal. So I don't know if she's at the very top of the comb. That's usually where she retreats when the nest is starting to be disturbed. Usually the queen climbs up through the comb layers, and she gets up to the very top, and she hunkers down up there. But I don't remember seeing her particularly. That has nothing to do with the removal, really. I mean, I just prefer to get her so I can show folks in the comment, or show folks on the video of what she looks like and things. But as far as the actual removal is concerned, it doesn't really matter if she's left behind. She's not going to re-inhabit or rebuild this colony by any means. And she won't fly off and start another colony somewhere else. This is too late in the season for her. After queens start laying a bunch of eggs, their abdomens become engorged, and they become so heavy that they can't fly. So they'll be able to like coast and stuff, but they won't be able to like actually fly off to another location. So it's not as much a concern about her being left behind. And just pulling down this last little bit of comb, I think there's another little tiny structure above that, but you can see how much they've chewed through. I guess it's bigger than a baseball. It looks like maybe it's about the size of a softball, and there's like mini basketball thing. You can see that little tunnel there too, how they chewed through the styrofoam, made a little tunnel from the outside of the outside literally, and then into that space. So that way they don't have to climb up above the nest and climb down through the comb layers. They can just go right through that styrofoam hole all the way down to the bottom comb layers. Now, if you spot the queen in this, and I didn't see her, and put a timestamp in the comments and let me know where you think she is, and then I'll tell you if you're right or wrong. Most of the time, you're going to be wrong. I'm just gonna say it. Most times when people think they see the queen, they just see a male, or they see a worker that just looks bigger or something, which that does happen from time to time. Something else I'll get to with people with commenting when they watch these removals is that they'll think that I'm here to clean the house, or that I'm here to clean the cavity. I get as much of the envelope out as I can, but I'm not really there to like do any house cleaning. So there's going to be some fringes of envelope left behind or whatever. It's not going to be a perfect house cleaning job here. And even down here where the styrofoam powder's left behind, I think I ended up vacuuming most of that up, but it wasn't on purpose. Because I do dump this vacuum contents out on my compost pile if I'm not getting any foreign debris in it. But with something like this, if I suck up a bunch of styrofoam, I don't want to dump that out on the ground at my house. So I'll actually dump that into a burn barrel, and then I'll burn the rest of the envelope and stuff there. And that way any foreign stuff like styrofoam or any kind of like plywood or stuff like that, it just gets burned up. And that way it's not sitting on the ground and polluting the ground. So even though I looked like I was being nice and calm and tedious with that envelope this entire time, now it's time to break it up and actually get it sucked up. So just break it up with the wand, and any individuals that are in between or inside of that some way, they're going to get sucked up too. You can see they kind of spaz out, and any ones that do fly out start going right up to that screen and get vacuumed up there. See, this is what I mean by tedious. Just like as you're moving stuff, you're trying to do one thing, and then individuals fly out from that one particular spot or underneath one thing that you were moving or something, and then you're like, oh, I gotta get those vacuumed up now too. And it's like a personal vendetta for me. Again, it doesn't matter if a few are left behind, they're just gonna die anyway. But I don't like leaving anything behind, and I like to be as thorough as I can. So it's a blessing and a curse, really. There you can see how much they've chewed through. That's a pretty good size. It's probably about maybe 10 inches long and about 4 to 5 inches wide at the widest point. So they did a lot of chewing. And there's not that much styrofoam laying on the top of that little parapet. So, you know, who knows? They might have carried it outside and dropped it in the yard. But here, just doing one more pass through the comb layers just to make sure I get as many vacuumed up as I can. And as you can see, there's a couple still crawling around on it, even though I've already cleaned it off twice. Again, just hammering home the tediousness of some of this. Usually by this point, I'm just like ready to be done, ready to move on and get cleaned up and get on to the next appointment. So the last thing I want to be doing is going through comb layers and then vacuuming up again. So there's 3 more there. So get those last 3 there. And it doesn't really matter if there are a couple, because there's going to be ones that hatch out. So a nest this size, probably by the time I get home, there's probably going to be about 30 of them hatched out inside the bag. So it's not too bad to be too concerned about it. But these ones are workers that have hatched out a while ago, so they're able to fly and sting and things. The ones that hatch out, the 30 that may hatch out by the time I get home, they can't fly or sting. So it takes them up to a couple days to be able to dry off their wings enough to be able to fly and to be able to unsheath their stinger. So it's not as crucial about those ones. When I dump out the nest, that's something people comment when I dump them out for the animals. They're like, what about all those ones? Aren't they going to sting the animals? It's like, well, no, they're all newly hatched adults. They can't fly or sting. So this is really graceful how I'm able to come out of this out of this cavity. You didn't know you were going to see a full moon today, did you? Well, you're welcome. So just coming out and inspecting how many are coming back from foraging, and there's not that many. Job well done.
And that's it. Nest is gone. And on to the next one.
Oh, okay. Oh Oh my God. Excuse me. Bless me. Thank you. So that was exciting. That nest was mastiff. And it was interesting because the queen has started the nest above that styrofoam insulation board. She started the nest above it, and then she started chewing out the top of that insulation board. And then as the nest got bigger and the colony started growing, they all started chewing it. So it was interesting because when I first saw it inside of that space, it looked like the nest was hanging from the styrofoam, but it actually turned out that the nest had actually grown through it, which is really cool. And luckily, since they were German, they weren't nearly as aggressive as to say if they were Eastern yellow jacket, Southern yellow jacket, etc. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you. So I'm on my way now to Downingtown, and then after Downingtown I have to go to Exton, which is nice because I'm somewhat local today. And local for me is like within 45 minutes from my house. So, but it's nice because I'm not in like Philly or Camden, New Jersey, or all the way down like Abington, Maryland, or Wilmington, Delaware, which is where I am the next few days. So, actually, I think the one day I'm in Philly in the morning at like 7 in the morning, and then I'm going down to Wilmington, Delaware at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So, not looking forward to that. I think that's tomorrow, but anyhow. I'll catch you guys when I get home, and you guys can check out the animals and watch them eat. All right, so I just got home. Here's our big German nest. Of course, I have several other nests in here. Yeah, I might take one of these European nests down here. Alright, so let's take these all down to the birdies. Oh, one of the Ronettes. Come on, birdies. Rhea-the-Rhea. Go, birdies. Here you go, birdies. Oh, Rhea-the-Rhea. Rhea-the-Rhea. Hello, Doris. Hello, Doris. Hello, Rhea-the-Rhea. Hello, Doris. Hey, Doris. Hello, Rhea-the-Rhea.
Oh wow, look at this one. Here, Doris. Here, Doris. Is that good? Birdie. Quiet, quiet, Birdie.